Glad you guys can make it.
Thank you for doing this presentation. Sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how to, definitely like to learn how to learn more about, how we can apply for some capital.
Right. Right. There's not a lot of discussion about business credit or at all in most of the meetups that I see.
Yeah, I think most of this discussion has been all about, like, from what I've attended, almost all about like angel investment and VC, very little about, how to apply actually, this kind of loans from a financial institution. So it'd be great to know more about, the opportunities, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hi. I see. I'm making a classic mistake. I'm looking at my screen
It's
rather
fine.
than at you guys.
Yeah, it's okay. I think,
So
I have a trick of like positioning the speaker right like below the camera. So I'm looking at the speaker, and then it seems that I'm looking at the camera too. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we have to see professionals look right there, you
Yeah.
know. But let's talk about you guys' business. What do you? Well, first off, let me welcome you to the Business Partners of Oakland County meetup. And so we usually actually we haven't done a lot because of COVID, but usually we would do a meetup in Southfield twice a month, and we always talk about business credit because no one else is talking about it. And I kind of fall into it because I usually schedule these in advance, and then I'll mean to change the topic, and I'll be like, "Oh, I got 25 RSVPs for business credit." Okay, well, I guess we're talking about business credit this week,
Okay.
and it just sort of,
Got it.
it's never, well, I shouldn't say never. There's probably five or seven, eight people that might be the same people, and then the other 20 are like new people, you know.
Got it.
And so there's always, folks that haven't been hearing about it or they saw it on Meetup for the first time, and now they want to come learn, you know. And
Yeah.
so, there's plenty of meetups where they talk about how to get real estate, but not a lot about how to get money. So that's where we really want to focus on. I was going to give everyone about 15 minutes. And so this first 15 minutes, we usually network and talk about everyone's business. So tell me a little bit about yours.
I guess I'll start off. My name is Komeng. I founded Precede LLC. So this is a kind of a life science startup, focusing on providing personalized bladder cancer clinical care management. So we are developing a kind of a prognostic test, to predict personalized risk of recurrence for bladder cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and for patients who are at risk of developing or at risk of experiencing disease progression. We hope to also further identify potential targeted treatments that the patient might respond to. So it's kind of like right now we're trying to market this as an LDT before moving on to IVD, because the regulations for laboratory developed test LDTs are essentially a little bit laxer. So right now I'm kind of we already have our prototype. I'm trying to do a little bit of human subject testing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of trying to raise capital to run pilot studies, run clinical trials. So there's apart from angel investment, I'm also looking at non-dilutive federal federal funding. I also so this meetup really caught my eye because is if there's a possibility of applying for credit, with without any personal guarantee, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And LD, what's the LD? You got to unmute yourself. What's the LD for?
Latanja is my first name.
Ah.
So, well, I am a partner in the Genius Financial Group.
Okay.
And within the Genius Financial Group, one of our specialties is college planning. And so we have another company called College Planning Genius. And our goal is to help parents to send their children to college and leave their money at home. 99% of all parents who send their children to college overpay.
Okay.
Unless your child gets a full ride for the whole time, it is very likely that whatever you pay too much. And so we help families to lower the cost of college. There are lots of strategies that colleges use from the admission side as well as the financial aid side that families just don't know about. And with the college costs constantly rising, outpacing inflation, doubling the rate of inflation, even more than doubling inflation, it's getting more and more unaffordable for a lot of families.
Mm-hmm.
So we specialize in that, and that tends to lead into also helping the parents with their retirement planning as well, because too many parents tend to raid their retirement to help pay for college. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Right, and then they're praying that their kid is going to take care of them.
Yeah, and maybe they will once they finish paying off the student loans that they end up strapped with because they didn't know how to avoid having to take those.
Right. I know the shock for me was the fact that I have a freshman at Wayne State, and we had to, sign off on parent loans because they would not, give her the full package unless we personally were willing to take out loans.
Oh.
And my mindset was like, well, her education, because 30 years ago when I went to school, right, we signed off on our own financial aid.
Right.
Yeah. And so now they're like, oh no. So before you take out, before you get Pell Grants and all that other stuff, they want the parent on the hook. And I was like, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Well,
And then different colleges have different financial aid processes also. I wish I would have met you sooner.
Well, we were lucky because our daughter got a full scholarship. Well, full scholarship.
Tuition?
Yeah, tuition and books and fees, but didn't include room and board. And there was like an asterisk, and as a financial guy, right, I should know the devil's in the details, right? And
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot in that asterisk.
Yes.
Right. So, really 90% of her college was paid for, and there's only like 10% with the asterisk. So I was like, I can't complain,
And when people are business owners, they have even more advantages than W-2 employees.
Right.
My business partner always says, no business owner should pay a penny for college.
Right.
So.
That's good to know. I've got, my son has, my child has another 13 years to go before he hits college, so I can.
Oh, you have a lot of time.
I don't know about that. I don't know how much, like you say, the inflation of college costs and everything. It's just I don't know how it's going to be like when it's his turn. $500,000 maybe. I don't know. It's just crazy the way things are going right now. It's just untenable. But so it's always good to hear there's people working on these problems like yourself. So.
And I agree with that. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
The continued rise of the costs, and just saying, well, loans, because they haven't increased the grant money to go up with the costs. And I worked in Ann Arbor for 9 years, and I seen the continuous building, like you go to the University of Michigan campus, which most of these large campuses, they're always building. A new lab for this, a new engineering school for that. And it's like, wait a minute, didn't you guys just get a brand new engineering school like 10 years ago? Oh, no. See now, and there's always another alumni campaign, right, to raise more money. And I'll never forget, USA Today did a story in 90, I want to say 96, 95, somewhere in there. And it was about the endowments of the colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the time, Harvard had the biggest endowment in the country, you know, and
Yeah.
it was just under $1 billion. And Michigan was like, you know, like 12th. And if you know anything about Wolverines, right, they don't like to be second in anything, much less 12th. So they were like, oh no, we have to have the biggest. And they started a campaign, and it took them, by the time they got it together, it was like a 3-year campaign. And it was either 99 or 2000, they had a big party where they announced, hey, we crossed $1 billion, right? And so now we have the biggest endowment in the country. And at that party, the chairman of the committee to raise grow the endowment said, now let's go to $2 billion, right? And on the cover of the front page, of the Ann Arbor News was the announcement that they were raising tuition by 6% across the board. And I was sitting there, at the time I was a financial advisor. I wasn't in lending at the time. And I did the math and I'm going, wait a minute, they only have, 20 something thousand students. And if you figure 5% interest at the time on $1 billion, it's like, wait a minute, every kid could go to school for free.
You would think.
It was just like, okay.
Yeah, I think like yourself, I worked in Ann Arbor, Michigan, University of Michigan for like 7 years. So I'm pretty familiar with like what you just talked about, the constant expansion, the constant hiring. Not really, I don't think, the thing is they're not focusing really on the academic side. I think they're really bureaucratic heavy. So I think that's that's where a lot of money goes. But but hey, I don't know. I'm no longer there, so I'm. So.
It doesn't matter how much money any college has. They never have an intention for every student to attend for free.
Yeah.
Never.
No intention. No intention.
That's just not going to happen. They're a business too, so they have some money for some to attend at a discount or for free. But
is Latanja?
Latanja.
I thought they were a nonprofit.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. They're federal.
You thought that?
They pay no taxes.
Yeah, they pay no taxes. You're exactly right.
They're businesses. They operate like businesses.
They do. Well, Shay, are you there? Oh, Shay's connecting. Her audio's connecting.
But you were talking about not having too many meetings out there about credit. I've attended several real estate training type workshops over the years, and they always talk about how you can get credit without using your personal business credit, without using your personal guarantee, without using your own social security number. I've heard that said so many times, but I've never heard anyone tell you how to do it.
Right. And that's what we're going to get into today. Now, I do a full business credit. I'll do this, it's already 23rd, so I'll do this next month. We normally do a full business credit seminar. It's like an hour and a half long, where we go soup to nuts, everything you have to do from step 1 through step 2 through step 25 to get, because it's not something you just boom and you have it.
Yeah.
Generally, okay. But today, our topic is a business line of credit, and we're going to talk about how to fast track the process. Okay. Now, this is not for everybody, doesn't work for every situation, but it can work, it can work for most. And so we're going to talk about the basics, the basis that you need to get set up at a base level. And then we're going to talk about a business line of credit that almost everyone can qualify for. Okay, and I say almost because there's always exceptions to the rule, but you'll get a good foundation. So with that, I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen, because if you guys have never been to one of my meetups, I always do a PowerPoint. Here we go. Okay, so you guys see that now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So there we are. So I'm the president of Castle Commercial Capital. We've been around since 2007. We're the organizer of this meetup group. And we always cover generally business-related, entrepreneur-related topics. So there's all my contact information there. If you need it, I'll also show it at the end. I would encourage everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have over 30 videos related to commercial lending and business financing that you guys will find, I think, very helpful. But let's get into our topic today. Let's talk about the steps to building business credit. First thing is the name. It's very important that with your business name, your full name is on all your documents and it's spelled out the same way, and this might not seem like a big deal, but trust me, as a lender, I run into situations where people do not have their business name written the same. So if I'm, for example, my business is Castle Commercial Capital, LLC, if that's how it's spelled on my EIN letter with the IRS, that's how it needs to be on my business bank account, all my licenses. If I have a DBA, it needs to be consistent across the board. Corporate entities. You can build business credit with almost any corporate entity type. You truly want to start out by separating your business credit from your personal, and you need a separate entity in which to do that. Not a sole proprietorship or a partnership, because you're going to, if you want business credit in your business name and not yourself personally, you have to have an entity. Because if it's a sole proprietorship, I can't put it in your name, in the business name, and be separate from you, because legally, as a partnership or sole proprietorship, you are still on the hook. So it's very key that you either have a corporation or an LLC. And oh, by the way, as we go through this, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask as we go through this presentation. Your EIN number, whether you have employees or not, you need a federal tax ID number. Again, we can't have true business credit unless we have our own EIN number for our business, not doing it our Social Security number. And you need to make sure that tax ID number is used, the same one is used on your bank account that's included. And I say that because sometimes people will initially start out with a sole proprietorship and set things up initially that way. Later, they change to an LLC or corporation, and they don't go back and change the reporting on their bank accounts and their first documents. So as your business grows and you make those adjustments to it, you need to make sure you go back and revise your original documentation. Other thing I want to bring up is an EIN number. You can get set up in like 30 seconds. You just go to the irs.gov website and it'll be easy peasy. You don't want to pay anyone, and there's services out there. For example, if you go to rocketlawyer.com or I'm trying to think of the other business website where they'll do a LLC for you. I'm getting a brain fart. But anyway, you go to one of these websites, LegalZoom is where I'm thinking of. They'll set up a LLC for you for, you know, $30 or something. And then at the end, when you go to check out and pay for it, they'll say, oh, by the way, we can file your paperwork, get your EIN number for another $30. I would never pay for that because you can get it done literally in 45 seconds at the irs.gov website for free. So just be aware. And sometimes when you search online for EIN, other websites will pop up because they do paid advertising, and it'll look governmental, but there's a fee involved. So make sure it's irs.gov where you go to set up your EIN website. You don't need a website per se to get business credit. It's a good idea because most companies, or most lenders today look at your company and say, if you don't have a website, you're not in business. I argue a website is more important than a business card. Business card is something I can say, oh, you know what, I'm out of a business card, but here, go to my website. And if you got a business card but no website, most lenders and vendors will look at that and say, well, they're not really in business. You know, now you don't need a website for business credit, specifically the business line of credit that we're going to talk about today. But the key thing I want to stress is whatever is on your site needs to be 100% accurate with what you're doing. And so you don't want anything extra that you're not doing. If you have a separate business, make a separate site, but don't combine extra services that are not in line with your main business on your website. I've seen people do that to save money, and it doesn't help because when the lender goes to check out their website, they'll say, oh, they don't know what they're doing because they have a real estate company and an insurance company and a Papa John's. They got 5 businesses running through the same website. It shouldn't be done. It may seem obvious, but I got to mention it because that could kill a deal real quick. Let's talk about the business line of credit. A business line of credit should not have a hard credit inquiry because it should be in the name of the business. The qualification should be based on minimum documentation. You should have easy access to the funding. And when I say a business line of credit, what I'm talking about, to be clear, is not a vendor credit line. Like, let's say you got a credit line at Staples or Dell Computer to buy Dell computers or laptops or printers. I'm talking about a cash line of credit that I can get access to fund anything I need. There should be the ability to grow the line as your business grows. So you shouldn't have, like, for example, with some credit cards, those credit cards are only good up to a certain point. So maybe their limit tops out at $3,000 or $5,000, but if you want $30,000 or $50,000, oh, you have to get a totally different card. That account doesn't qualify. With your business line of credit, you want to find one where you can keep the same line, keep building the same credit history to build up your business credit, and it grows as your business grows. And of course, the funding should be in the name of the business without a personal guarantee. That's the tough part because most banks want a personal guarantee, even if the line is in the name of your business. So it might be in ABC Enterprises, but there's a personal guarantee that if the deal goes bad, we can come after your personal assets. And you should not have to do that with a business line. That's very, very common, though, extremely common, more so than not to have a personal guarantee than it to be in the name of the business strictly. Meaning if my business goes away or it fails and I owe them money, too bad, so sad, they can't come after me personally. That's not common, but it is out there. Now, when should you set up a business line of credit? Before you need it, right? There's an old saying, you know, banks don't give money to business owners and people who need money. If you don't need money, you're not in a desperate situation, that's who they'll loan money to. That's who they'll approve for a credit line. So this is one of those things that you want to do it as a course of establishing your company, but not because I'm short of cash and I need a line. That's going to be a tough approval to make happen. Now, let's specifically talk about the features of our program that we offer our clients. It's an unsecured business line of credit up to $10,000 initially. You can transfer funds directly from your bank account or access them with associated business MasterCard. So if my credit line is $5,000 and I need $2,000 for, let's say, a marketing expense, I can literally go online and transfer $1,000 directly to my business bank account and then write a check or do it off my business card if I want to, or charge that $1,000 expense against the MasterCard that's associated with the account. There's no personal guarantee at all. There's no hard credit inquiry. Now, this is something that's also not common. Typically, if you go to a bank, any brick and mortar bank you guys can think of, I won't name names, you put an application in, they run your credit, you get approved, it's in the name of your business, but that inquiry is still on your credit report. And in our program, there is no inquiry. We do qualify that initial line based on your credit, but it does not show up as a hard inquiry later if you get approved. And if you don't get approved, it still doesn't show up there neither. So there is no personal credit reporting. So the payment history will not build up on your Experian or Equifax or TransUnion credit reports. It won't help you build your credit. This is strictly business. It will show up on your Dun & Bradstreet or your Experian business credit reports. Now, if you don't have a credit profile in Dun & Bradstreet or Experian business, this account will create one, because as soon as they report your information and your payment history, they will establish your file within those databases. There are no bank statements or tax returns needed to establish the line. Other features of our program, it's an online process. You get approved online with a simple application and confirmation of your identity and of your business. There is not income documentation I mentioned earlier, but we do need to prove you who you say you are. Again, this is an account without a personal guarantee, so we'll want to see your EIN letter from the IRS. We'll want to see your voided check from your bank, your business bank account that has your business name on the check that shows you have a business bank account. Okay, we'll want to see your articles of organization for your LLC, or if it's a corporation, your articles of corporation. You know, and with those 4 documents, we can get you a business line of credit established. The funding grows with your business. So I mentioned initially you're approved for up to $10,000, and every 3 months you can request an increase. If you submit additional documentation, then you can be raised up to $100,000 with the same account. So as an example, we had someone who initially, they were only approved for $500. And they decided that, you know what, I need more than that. They provided business bank statements, and their credit line went from 500 right to 75,000. So with documentation, you can get a lot more, and as your business grows. It's an easy auto repayment because the payments for the line, so if I borrow, as an example, if I borrow $5,000, then my payments are going to be like 2% of whatever my balance is, right? So I'm going to owe $100. Okay, that $100 is paid out of a linked merchant account. Now, if you don't have one, or you don't, you need one, you don't know what that is, we can help you set it up. It's super easy, and it's extremely low cost to do it. You can have staff credit cards that are available. So let's say I have key employees that I trust, and I need to give them the ability to buy or pay for certain company expenses. I can get credit cards in the name of the business, in their name also, that they can use to charge for company expenses with a preset limit. So they can't, let's say you might have like $1,000 limit on it. So they can't go, too far out there. Protects you on the downside. We have a 90% approval rate on getting this business line because, again, those 4 documents I mentioned earlier. There's low FICO requirements, so someone with even a 500 FICO can get approved for a business line, and startups are accepted. And so now, to be fair, if someone has a 500 FICO, they're not going to get approved for a $10,000 line. Okay, they're going to start them out with something small, but as they grow, as the business grows, and as their score grows, and they're willing to show documentation, they can get approved for higher amounts, like I said earlier. Another big difference with this account, there is no time in business requirement. Most lenders, most banks, when you ask for a business line, they want to see 6 months, 12 months, 24 months of time in business. And if you don't have that time, then they're going to say, well, just come back later when you get that requirement and we'll be happy to approve you. With this, you won't have that as an issue. So let's talk about, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said avoided business check, articles of incorporation, and what were the other 2 documents you typically need?
Avoided check, articles of organization. Let's assume that you have an LLC, which is most common right now. Business, your EIN letter from the IRS, right? It's called an SS4. Basically, you apply online, and literally within a week, you get this letter that says, here's your, under, ABC Enterprises, here's your number, okay? Your EIN number. And also, on the 4th document, I don't think I mentioned this, was a copy of your voided check.
Okay, voided check, articles, EIN letter, and what's the 4th one?
Voided check, copy of your driver's license.
Oh, driver's license. Okay.
Yeah, copy of your driver's license. That's the person to identify you, right? That's your identification, And actually, let me talk about that for a second. We talk about a 90% approval rate. Well, who doesn't get approved for this? There's a few businesses that, because of the industry, we can't finance. Like if it's marijuana related, we can't do it. If it's an adult business like a strip club, we can't do it. And if someone answers the fraud questions incorrectly, that's also a no-no. And before I go on, any other questions about this at all? No? Okay, well, let me move on. Let's talk about the costs. There are 2 costs with this account. One is there's a monthly maintenance fee of $9.97 a month, and there's an initial enrollment fee of $99.97. The interest rate is prime plus 14, which as of today puts that at 17.25%, which is not bad for a unsecured line of credit. You can start building and increasing your business credit immediately because you submit those 4 documents and automatically the profile gets started. It starts building, and then there's the link where you can apply right on our website. It's a very easy, very simple process. Any questions about this part at all?
You said you can build your credit, so you can increase your credit line, but can you also begin to reduce the interest rate?
No, the interest rate does not decrease. For a line of credit, that's a very, very competitive interest rate. It's not a secured loan, so it's not secured by assets, business or personal. So that's why the rate is what it is. And it's a business line without a personal guarantee. So that's going to be the, very common. You can increase it, the line itself, like I mentioned, by submitting like business bank statements and that kind of thing. Also, and let's say you're in a startup phase and you didn't have a lot of bank statements, but you wanted to, still increase your line. The other way you could increase your line is if you were approved here at this level, and maybe it was a moment where your credit cards had high balances or something like that, where your score was temporarily low. If your score gets higher later, you can ask for an increase just based on your score. So let's say you got approved for $3,000 and your score got higher later, you can increase that up to the 10 without documentation.
Okay.
Oops. And so that's it. Any questions about the account itself and how it works? One thing about this type of account that makes it unique is the fact that someone can have no business credit and this can be their first account. And so with this account, they can have no profile with Dun & Bradstreet or Experian Business and use this account to establish their business credit profile in the systems. And then as their business grows, it leads them to get other business credit down the road. So let's say we're talking about like equipment leasing. If you're going to lease like medical equipment, that kind of thing, and they want to pull up your Dun & Bradstreet and look at your Paydex score. Well, to have a Paydex score, you have to have a business credit account that you've been paying on to build up that score. This is a way, very inexpensive way, to build up that Paydex score and with Dun & Bradstreet. And by the way, when I say Paydex score, does everyone know what that is?
No, not really.
No.
Okay, when you're dealing with business credit, the key score you need to pay attention to is the Paydex score. That's the gold standard in the business by Dun & Bradstreet. Okay, what's different about the Paydex score on your business credit that's different from personal is where on your personal credit, they look at inquiries and they look at your utilization, like how high are your balances versus your available credit, right? They look at what's your credit mix? Is it all, credit cards, or do you have some mortgages, or do you have some auto loans? Do you have some different type of installment debt, like student loan debt, those kinds of things? A good credit mix will help get your score up. With Paydex, there's only one category, and that is payment history. They don't care about inquiries. They don't care about you maxing out your limits. They don't care about credit mix. It's all about payment history, okay? And that score is graded by days, not by months. So if your payment is due on the 1st, you get paid 3 weeks late, and it'll still be reported as current with your personal credit. It doesn't get to where you're 30 days late or 60 days late or 90 days late that they start to hit you as a late payment, right? With your Paydex score, they look at days. So they'll say, based on their payment history, do they have a tendency to pay early? That's how you get the highest level score, which, by the way, only goes to 100. It's 0 to 100. The next level is at 90. Do they pay on time or promptly? Okay. In other words, right on the date or do a little bit before. Okay. The average considered a good Paydex score is like 82. Okay. If you get 15 days late, they mark you down. If you go 30 days late, which is another, 21 days, which is another 7 days, they mark you down again. If you're 30 days late, that's another mark. That's a fourth markdown. You know, so with business credit and your Paydex score, it is extremely important that you're very diligent about making sure you're paying early or on time. Because if you wait till I'm 30 days or 60 days late and you go that far, your score is going to be in the toilet. And that Paydex score, by the way, is issued by Dun & Bradstreet. You can go to Dun & Bradstreet and ask for a credit profile and submit. Now, Dun & Bradstreet has a credit building program for about, I think it's $2,600, something like that. I would not recommend buying it because the way it works is they'll say you can get established based on who you're already paying. And so just tell us who you're already paying, and then we'll use that payment history to establish your Paydex score. And what Dun & Bradstreet does is they use it as a marketing list. And they call those companies, because out of all the companies in the country that provide credit, only less than 10% report to Dun & Bradstreet because there's a fee involved. And what happens is your vendors will say, well, wait a minute, Malcolm, let's say I'm paying rent. Malcolm's paying rent, and he's already paying us without me paying you guys a fee to report the payment. No, I'm not going to do that. So 6 months later, I got no score. I call Dun & Bradstreet and be like, hey, I still don't have a score with all existing people. They're like, well, none of them signed up, but I'm still out my money. So what Dun & Bradstreet will do is they will call you and solicit you to sign up for the Credit Builder program when you apply for your Dun & Bradstreet number. And I just wait. The selling point that they make is by applying for the Credit Builder program or paying for the Credit Builder program, you'll get your DUNS number faster. Okay, don't fall for that. Okay, you'll get your Dun & Bradstreet number fine without having to pay that, because a lot of people don't know this. If you apply for a government contract, whether it be municipal or state or federal, if there's any type of government contract, it's mandatory that you have a Dun & Bradstreet number. It's a requirement. Therefore, Dun & Bradstreet cannot actually charge you for the number, because the government makes everyone have to get it. So I would apply and then just wait. You don't need a Dun & Bradstreet number to get this line of credit though. So by you applying for this line of credit, once you're approved, and that information on your company, the phone number, the address, the name, obviously, is reported to Dun & Bradstreet, and it's reported to Experian Business, they then establish your file in the system. You guys get how that works?
So you're saying we can use payments like rent and for regular monthly fees and subscriptions that we have as a business to help establish?
Well, no. What I'm saying is Dun & Bradstreet will tell you that we can use your existing vendors that you're already paying.
Oh.
But they're not in the system. And when Dun & Bradstreet calls them, right, and says, hey, Paul has asked us to call you so we can report the payments he's making to you in the system, and we need you to sign up for $1,000 a year. They're like, well, Paul's already paying me, so I'm not paying you guys a fee, and he's already giving me his money. You see what I mean?
Oh, I see. So we don't provide that information to you then.
No.
Okay, got it.
No, you'd have to find a vendor who is already reporting to Dun and Bradstreet, and then you apply to them to get the credit that's going to then report. Because
Okay.
very few businesses that are not already paying that fee are going to sign up to start paying it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that's the marketing plan that Dun and Bradstreet uses when they sell you their credit builder program.
Okay.
Which, you know, I'm telling you now, it's a, you know, it's great for them because they get, you know, your vendors that are not reporting is a free marketing list for them, you know. And if they only convert, you know, 3 or 4%, great. Doesn't help you though. So this particular account that I'm talking about, we already report. And I'm telling you up front, we report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian Business, which, as an aside, taking this program out of it, with any credit account that you have in the name of your business, the first thing you want to ask them when you go to apply is, who do you report to? If they say no one, then you may want to take a step back and rethink that strategy and say, is there another vendor who provides what they need without that will actually report? So I'll give you an example. PayPal has a PayPal credit card. Okay, it's in the name of your business. It's not personal. However, PayPal does not report. So you could have a $1,000, $3,000, $10,000 credit card with PayPal credit, but no one will know it because they don't report to anybody. Now you can still use it obviously for your business, but it doesn't help you build up your business credit. And what you want to do is get to the point where you have $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 in capital that you can access whenever you need to. Which, as an aside, if I need to sell my business and I decide later, or just choose to sell my business, if my business has access to business credit at that level, it's going to be more valuable than the guy next door to me who has nothing and everything's tied to him personally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the one thing we learned from 10 years ago, we definitely, if we didn't learn a lesson 10 years ago, we're definitely learning it now with COVID, is those businesses that have access to capital are the ones that are best positioned to weather whatever financial storm we might be in. We saw that in the financial crisis 10 years ago, and we're definitely seeing it right now. No doubt about it. I think now is the time that we want to, you know, things are a little slower, you know, there's a little bit of uncertainty. Great. Now's the time to refocus our business. Excuse me, redo our marketing plans, rebrand, do whatever we got to do to reposition our business to come out of this thing. Because eventually we're going to come out of it and things will get back to normal. We just have to figure out what the new normal is for some of our industries. But now is a great time because other businesses are shrinking from the market, regardless of what other market they're in. You know, I just saw something the other day, and they were talking about, oh, I'm going to have to plug my battery in, or my computer in. All these hotels are going to start going out of business because they just can't survive at all unless they get government help. You know, that's going to be a shrinking of the marketplace. But then when supply shrinks, what happens with demand? Right? You'll be the last, sort of last man standing. I wouldn't open a brand new one today, but I might start looking and seeing who's in trouble, who's going to be on the market. Any other questions? Well, with that, I want to thank you guys for attending. You got my email here. You got our website. And if you need any more help, feel free to drop us a line, give us a call. We're available, and look out for our future meetups. Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Thank you.
Hope
Thank
this was
you.
helpful to you. Have a great one.
You too.
You too.